Good morning. Happy Friday. Welcome to our Friday morning Course in Miracles group. I'm Lisa Natoli, and I'm very grateful to be here and to be joined with you. Today, Bill Free is going to be teaching, so I'm just going to be here doing announcements and opening and holding the light, which I invite all of you to do with me. And we all have a function here. You know, it often can seem like there's a person teaching, but we're all joined in one function, which is to see the world through our own holiness. And that's really what we're here for. That's what this Friday group is. And I just want to say to you guys who taught last Friday, that was awesome. We had a Christmas sharing, and for those of you watching on live stream, you can go to the Teachers of God YouTube page and see that. And it was just an incredible reminder from all of you of the wonder of Christmas and bringing that into our everyday life. You know, I recently had a call, an interview that I did with this woman named Cece in London, and she wanted me to speak about Christmas, and we're in the Christmas season now. And I told her that for me, it really is a state of mind. And that's what A Course in Miracles says, that Christmas is a state of mind. And she was talking about Christ consciousness, and she called it Christmas consciousness. And I thought that was cool because that's really what it is. It's the birth of Christ in each and every one of us. And if you think about Christmas, it really is that time of magic and wonder and excitement, and Santa came, and you know, it's like we make it into this one day that's magical, and there's gifts for us. And what A Course in Miracles is inviting us to do is to bring that feeling into every day. Like, can you wake up every day with that Christmas morning feeling? Can you? Who can do that? Like, you could, and the feeling of that there's gifts waiting for you. Like, I can remember when I was a child, my favorite part of Christmas was my stocking. My mom made 3 stockings. I have 2 sisters. Hi, Mom, if you're watching. She said last week, she said, you didn't talk about Christmas. You love Christmas. So anyways, I wanted to just share with it now. And she'd make stockings, and my sisters and I would wake up at the crack of dawn, like 5 a.m., because my mom would lay the stockings out. And of course, we thought it was Santa at first. And we could open the stockings before my parents got up. And that was my favorite part. You know, it was just that feeling of waking up and there's gifts. And that's every day. Like, every day you can wake up knowing that there are gifts for you to find. And, you know, I've said it several times in here. I've written about it. I never, ever wake up happy. Never. I wake up disoriented. I wake up confused. I wake up in a body. I wake up with the body feeling. I wake up with, oh God, like, and my mind starts going into the past and the future. But I've trained myself to, before I do anything, I don't get out of bed. I come back into, I'm not a body. I am spirit. Lord, here I am. I am the light of the world. I wonder what surprises are in for me today. I wonder, like, where I'm going to go to carry this light and these gifts. Like, you plug in to the source that you are, source energy, God, and you do that before you do anything. Before my feet hit the floor, that's my practice. And I do not get out of bed ever until I am in a space of I love life. That's it. And sometimes it takes me a while. Like, sometimes it'll take 20 minutes. It's just, the mind can be so crowded. And so to come into that space now where you recognize I have this ability to reach a state of mind of peace. I have an ability to reach a state of wonder and magic and joy and remember the truth of what I am, which is the light. So I wanted to just say Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you all. And I'm excited for Bill's teaching today. He's going to, I think, if he goes with what he was talking about last night, it was recognizing the spirit. And it's just a great teaching. You can either recognize the spirit or you're being a body. There's no in between. There's no in between in those two. Either you're accepting the truth or you're stuck in a body with all the effects that come along with the body. So I'm just going to say a few announcements. Let me think. It's coming up on the new year. So a lot of people do the workbook lessons starting on January 1st. So if anybody is interested in doing the workbook lessons, all you need is A Course in Miracles. If you want my support with it, I have a 1-year audio program called ACIM 365. And I'm doing a 1-hour free webinar next Tuesday. So Tuesday, December 18th at 3 o'clock. It'll be live. It's free. And if you've been wanting to join ACIM 365, we're giving a huge financial discount off for anybody who signs up for that webinar. So even if you can't be there live, sign up for it and then just jump in. And it's a 1-year training for the workbook lessons. And I think that's my only announcement. What else do we have for announcements? Does anybody else have announcements? We have a Sunday group here at Unity for A Course in Miracles at 12 o'clock with Nancy Fitzgerald and Chris Casanovas. And Linda, any announcements? Okay. And I just launched a brand new program called The Healing Cure. So I've been thinking about this program for 5 years. Many of you know. I've been talking about it, and I have had my foot on the brake for at least a year, not daring to launch this thing. And I can remember 2 years ago, I was at a Brendan Burchard event in San Diego. He's this motivational teacher that I love, and there's 1,000 people in the room, and he's very enthusiastic, and he's screaming at us really because he wants you to step into your purpose and your function. And he said, if any of you have the cure for cancer, you better stand up and tell the world. And I thought, he's talking to me. Like but I was like, I can't do that. Like, I can't stand up and say I have the cure for cancer, but I do. Like, we all know we have the cure for cancer. And I've been so terrified to just say it, like to teach true healing. And finally, I realized I have to take my foot off the brake and trust. And that's what I did this week. And the program, I'm writing the content right now as we go along. And I launched it on Tuesday, this past Tuesday. And if you're interested, it's available all the time. It's like an 8-week do-it-yourself coaching program with videos from me every single week. And it's to really get you to identify with your true self, to identify with the light that you are and your holiness. And then starting in week 2, we start to uncover any of the blocks that are going on in your mind that are blocking the light that you are. So it's available at any time. I know it's the holidays, so many people might not want to join now. However, it's a brand new group right now, and I love interaction. So what I'm doing with this initial group for the people who are in the group now is I am working with them. Like, I am asking for their feedback. I want to know their issues because I'm creating the content in real time. So if anybody's interested in that and they want the interactive part, now is the time to sign up in the next couple of weeks. And after that, it'll be videos and everything you need for true healing. So that's over at my website, lisanatoli.com. And now is our time for... What?
Not yet.
Not yet, what?
Now's not our time to...
Oh, okay. Bill Free's going to come up.
Okay, thank you. Had to put an insert here. we have a special guest this morning that I want to introduce, and I met her this morning. She brought us these beautiful calendars that are for next year, and they're Joe Goldsmith calendars. This woman, Diane, she's with the Joe Goldsmith Organization, and she's going to come up and speak to us for a few minutes this morning instead of our Cafe Gratitude thing. I think what she has to say will be very rich, and I had a chance to speak to her this morning as I was setting up, and I got inspired. I thought, man, I want our friends to all meet you. So here's Diane Doheny. Welcome.
I'm excited. Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Talk about expectancy. I had no idea this was going to happen this morning. I just thought I'd bring some calendars down, and thank you. And met Bill, and we had a conversation within a matter of minutes. We made that connection. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Okay. So I guess where I would begin is just, it's good to see everybody. And I think that we all know there's only really one teacher. There's one relationship. There is one cure. There is one healing. And it's revealing the truth. And the truth needs no discussion. And yet, it's so nice to meet people and to know we're traveling the same path. These are old faces I haven't seen for a long time. And you know, there is no time, there is no space. But you know, if you're talking that talk out there, people are going to lock you up. They're going to think you're crazy. And you saying there's no cancer. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's, you know, and again, I don't know where I'm going with this except to tell you that my journey, as probably yours, started long ago. I was raised as a Catholic, and I want to believe again in that childhood God. Do you remember the Santa Claus God? Out there, someplace out there, God was going to come in and solve everything. World problems, no problem was too big for God. You know, and I really want to believe in that childhood God again. Oh, I sometimes really do. And it's been a long journey to find out that God's right here and right there and there and there. And that really is oneness. And, you know, as with you, I mean, I can sit here with this microphone. It's really fun. And I try to have Diane stay there in the chair because that's my ego, and try to be here in the spirit. Because whenever there's a gathering, you bring the consciousness. I do a lot of workshops, as you do too. Irene, I've known for years, and Dave. And, you know, we show up and we know that it's not us. That is our ego. And we've been conditioned and programmed from the beginning in this universal belief. And the reason that I'm here today, I guess, is that I was just delivering these calendars and walked in and made a connection with a soul who I know. And a soul who I know. And how can that be? Because my ego is not present. And boy, that's a struggle each day. I wake up too the same morning and I say, please God, let me be more spiritual than human today. But boy, do I get in the way. You know, it's all about me. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And these people come into my office. I'm a therapist. And although I'm a spiritual teacher, I don't even like the word therapist anymore, but when I'm working with people, I'm trying to remind them who they really are. And I'm seeing in them their true purpose and being. And this is why I love Joe Goldsmith. It's been a long path. I mean, I began in the metaphysical era way back in 1986 in California, studied with a woman named Shakti Gawain. Love her. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I have some bad news. I have some news. Shakti passed away in November, on November 11th. And I was to find that out in my office as I'm giving some information to a client. I said, you've got to get, you know, some of these tapes by this woman named Shakti Gawain. Because basically, Shakti's whole message was, we create our own reality. And our thoughts create our reality. And back in the metaphysical days in 1986, that changed my whole life. And I feel a little emotional because I didn't realize she had passed. And I knew that, you know, she had had some health challenges. And so this client in my office was talking, and I said, she looked it up online, and she said, oh, she passed away. And it was shocking, you know, I just, you know, and then I think to myself, she's here today. In fact, now I'm going to really get emotional. Over here, when I walked over here and I walked into the chapel, there's all these teddy bears. That's how I began with Shakti's work in Boston. She sat us all, we were all in a circle. There was like I don't know how many people, 1,000 people in the audience. And she got up on stage and started talking about these metaphysical principles. And I was wide open. I couldn't get enough. And all she was saying is that we're all the same. And when we close our eyes, there's a connection to be made. And so here are all these people in this audience closing their eyes. And the whole room felt like one. I said, I want to do that. Here I was. I had just signed a contract as a guidance counselor up in North Conway, New Hampshire. And I said, I want to do that. I left my job. I went out to California and I did a 9-month leadership training program with Shakti Gawain and met Wayne Dyer, Marianne Williamson, oh my gosh, Louise Hay, all these people that were connected, Deepak Chopra, all these people. And it was like a mind-blowing experience, but it really was. So when I walked in the chapel today, I saw those teddy bears. Oh, it just touched my heart because it brought back the imagery of sitting in a circle and having Shakti would say, bring that teddy bear with you. I'm not bringing a teddy bear. What's that about? Your inner child. And that was the work we were doing at the time. And so everyone would bring this teddy bear that represented the innocence in their childhood and sometimes the wounds. And that was the work we did. But anyway, the reason I came today was to talk about actually Joe Goldsmith. And is this your water, Lisa? Go ahead. Can I just have thanks? Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm not nervous or anything. Joe Goldsmith, who began, he was Jewish, businessman, began his history and career was really in Boston, in the Christian Science Church, and he would do healings. And the reason that I love his work is because he said, in the infinite way, you are God. We are God. God is within us. And so he really wrote 51 books, all based on the nature of God and the nature of error. And really that spiritual discernment. Each day we get up, we have a choice. We can live as human beings, but we're not our bodies. We're not our minds. We are spirit. And that's what connects us all. So I've been involved with the Infinite Way for about 10 years. And I've done all these workshops and retreats and groups with various leaders and teachers. And to me, the Infinite Way was the purest way for me to understand that I am God. You're God. And that oneness connects us all. And yet, I can't go on the street and say that. I can do to sit with my clients in the office, and I spend an hour with them, and the whole time saying, please, God, let them hear what they need to hear, and remember what it is and who they are, and stop denying that we're God. And the Infinite Way is just, and there's no organization, there's no rules, there's no dues, there's nothing to bring us together that way. And yet, when we meet 60, 80, 100 people, 300 people from all over the country, the minute we walk into the room, it's like we're all in the fourth dimension. You know, everybody, like I'm looking at your faces, I'm feeling right at home today. I feel like, where have you been? And so, right here, right here. I know. Oh, a daily spiritual reprieve. That's what we all have. And whether you call it 12 Steps, Course in Miracles, Infinite Way, you know, there are so many teachers out there, and it's so nice to connect and be here today with all of you. I don't know what more I can say, except that I did bring there's some calendars, complimentary calendars, and they're back over there, so certainly take one with you when you go.
There's enough for everyone.
Yeah. Namaste. Thank you.
Wow. Wasn't she an awesome treat? I know. You guys must have loved her too. I just got a hit when I started talking to Diane. Oh my God, our people need to meet you. Thank you for that. That was beautiful. Well, for everyone, I put the calendars on the table in the back next to the love box. Grab one for yourself. There's another box down on the floor. If the table runs out. So help yourself with that. And please rise and have a meet and greet. And live streamers will be right back. And thank you for joining us.
You've been here. Exeter, your office over there. Yeah. She is great. She's always great. Centuries ago.
I'm so excited.
Right? That's what Shawnee's new house.
Oh, yeah.
Shawnee's my new book. It's been out since January.
Okay. Namaste, live streamers. We love you. We are rowdy today, right? Yeah.
That's awesome. Are you moving into the apartment?
I'm going into one of the units, the apartment.
Oh, okay.
Out front.
Love it there.
I've just got you on.
That's what I figured. It's
Love
like,
you too.
and no wonder MLS couldn't find
All
it.
right. Can we have a seat, everyone, please? Can we all?
Bring it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not usually on.
Everyone have a seat, please. Thank you. Live streamers, can't help you on the calendars. You have to be here. But everyone, please have a seat. Thank you, everyone. Please have a seat, and we'll get started.
So do you want to get started?
We're going to get started.
I am a lover of Joe Goldsmith.
Yes, love Joe Goldsmith. How's our camera doing? Good? Okay, can everyone please have a seat? And we'll get started. So, how many of us in this room, when you get a Christmas present, or you get a gift from someone, or you go and buy something that has instruction manuals, how many of you, raise your hands if you actually read the instruction manual first? How many of us do that? Only a couple do. Live streamers, how many of you guys read the instructions? Now, this is just a manual for how to use your Vitamix container. This is just really an example of, if you're like me, I open up the box, put all the parts out, and I figure out how to put it together by looking at it. And then I start putting it together, and I find out, oh shit, if I would have put this first, I wouldn't have to take it all apart because it has to go in this order. And I actually, not all the time, but often I think I know it. And so I got this, is in charge. And when I take the time to read this thing, then I go, oh, that's what you got to do first. Got it. And how many times do we get a new operating system on our computer, and we just start pushing buttons instead of reading the update and instructions? And we say, I don't know why this thing isn't working. I don't know how to do this thing. And that happens. We're like, that's what most of us do almost all the time. And our spiritual life is not different than that. And most of you know, if not all of you, that I'm a non-dual student, teacher, lover of truth, and I have discovered in my own opinion that the Course in Miracles is a dualistic structure that points you to the non-dual experience of awakening. The non-dual teaching, it really undoes your old thought system in a systematic way, because the author, the voice of Jesus, or the mind of Christ, that actually he represents himself as the guy 2,000 years ago. He put an instruction manual together for us that's very specific. It's very specific. And the more I discover the non-dual teaching of what I am as spirit, what I am what God is, I am God presence. The more I discover and know that, the more I understand that what Jesus has been pointing me to all along from Workbook Lesson 1, if you go to Workbook Lesson 1, he invites you to, just in the first lesson, nothing I see in this room means anything. He's inviting us to use the body's eyes to notice objects, the objects of experience. Look slowly around you and practice applying this idea very specifically to whatever you see. That's Workbook Lesson 1. Workbook Lesson 2 says, I have given everything I see in this room all the meaning it has for me. And in the second paragraph of this workbook lesson, he tells us how to do the seeing, how to notice. Merely glance easily and fairly quickly around you, trying to avoid selection by size, brightness, color, material, or relative importance to you. In other words, don't label it. Just look. Like a camera takes a photograph. Just do that. Recognize it. And so that's very specific, right? Like this. It's very specific. If you don't follow the instructions, what it says in the rest of the book is probably going to be, you might have to go back a time or two. On number 3, it says, I do not understand anything I see in this room. And he says, it is therefore essential that you keep a perfectly open mind, unhampered by judgment. So he's inviting us to notice that there's judgment that is occurring in our perception when I do not understand anything I see in this room. Lesson 4, he says in paragraph 3, the aim here is to train you in the first steps toward the goal of separating the meaningless from the meaningful. It is a first attempt in the long-range purpose of learning to see the meaningless as outside you and the meaningful within. And then he gets into inviting us to close our eyes, open our eyes, and if you're following the healing cure, where Lisa has just been introducing the Holiness lessons, oh my God, those Holiness lessons, when I started rereading those, I'll read just a couple of them, or a couple of the points of the Holiness lessons. They start at 35, 36, 37, 38, and 39 are the Holiness lessons. And Lisa brought this to my attention. She was telling me that she was going to, that was going to be like for the first week or so of her healing cure. When I sat down and started reading them, I'm going, oh my God, these are the awareness lessons. These are the lessons that begin to tell you to open your eyes, close your eyes, see it this way. He says in 35, my mind is part of God's. I am very holy. And so this first one is the recognition of I am. It's the very beginning workbook lessons in the course where Jesus is inviting us to say and recite, I am holy, our holiness. Because when you recite, I am holy, and you begin to do to have the specific experience that Jesus points to in these exercises, he says to do this with eyes closed. In 30, that was 35, 36, he says, let's see, 4 3 to 5 minute practices. This is for my holiness envelops everything I see, right? So first, I am holiness, so he's having me to understand my identity as I am. Same as Moses, I am. Same as what Diane just said, I am. I am that I am. Only Moses sort of thought it was something outside of him that was talking to him, and he thought that it was God, Yahweh, Jehovah, the God of the Israelites. He didn't realize that that voice was the God of himself, I am. And that's what all of us seem to miss. I mean, Kelly did an amazing explanation in her blog this week of explaining that what if everyone we meet is God? What if I am God? You know, that sounds in her teaching, her written teaching exceeds her video. I thought her video was fantastic, but the written portion of her blog, if you guys on live streaming haven't seen it, or if you haven't read or watched her blog, please do that. You will get such a blessing from that, because she really points to what I was describing a couple of weeks ago as, you know, we kind of think like, and Diane said it this morning too when I first met her, we have trouble saying I am God. We have a lot of trouble with that because of the dogma, and even course students say, well, I am the effect. God is the source. And we really make sure that correction is made so that we don't rise up and say, well, you know, I'm God. Because when we think that this is God, we did make a mistake. There's just a mistake there. It's a mistaken identity, because God isn't this. This is here today and gone tomorrow. And what God is, which is what I am, is eternal, and it never dies. It doesn't die when this gets laid down. In its pure consciousness. And in these workbook lessons, workbook lesson 36, my holiness envelops everything I see. Jesus says in this workbook lesson, first close your eyes and repeat the idea for today several times slowly. So why don't we do that? Why don't we close our eyes? Close your eyes, live streamers. You can listen. And just say this to yourself in your mind. My holiness envelops everything I see. My holiness envelops everything I see. And then gently open your eyes and look quite slowly about, applying the idea specifically to whatever you note in your casual survey. And just sort of gently, just sort of note that as is described. Say, for example, my holiness envelops that picture. My holiness envelops that. So just do this for yourself. And then it gives some examples, and it says several times during these practice periods, close your eyes and repeat the idea to yourself, then open your eyes and continue as before. Why is he doing this? Why is he saying to open our eyes and close our eyes? It's because when we look with the body's eyes, we're looking mostly at objective experience. We're mostly looking at the objects of experience. Pictures, person up here. And when we close the eyes, the visual experience is not there. The sound is there, but also the image of what I was looking at before the body's eyes closed, the image can still come in. There can still be an image of what you looked at. Now, if you have your eyes open and you see these beautiful paintings on the wall, and then you close your eyes, you can retain that image that you saw with your body's eyes open. So where is that image held? Is that image held? Where is it held? It can only be coming from the same place that the sound of this voice is. It can only be coming from the same place as with eyes open. That image is the awareness of it. That image is the awareness of the sound, of the visual image with the body's eyes, of the auditory experience that's being held. That image of visual and auditory, and also touch. All of your sensations are coming from the same place. If you didn't know, if you put your hand on your leg and closed your eyes, and if you were like 2 weeks old or 1 month old and you didn't know that was your leg or this was a hand or that you were even a body, all you would know is the sensation of the pressure and the sensation that you were having. And you actually can't even locate it, even though you might feel pressure. You wouldn't know that this is a hand or that this is a body. You would just know sensation. So even sensations are discovered in the awareness of them. So all experience is known in the awareness of the experiences. And you cannot have an experience that you are not aware of. You cannot have it. I had a guy write me a letter, an email, and say, and he said, you know how when you drink sometimes and you get so drunk, you totally lose consciousness and you lose how can you be aware during that period? And something's making the body go to the bathroom and breathe. Something is, and also there even when you go unconscious, what's going unconscious? It's the mind. It's not the awareness of the experience. So an awareness is if you didn't have memory, what would you know? What would you know? So is anything need to be changed there? Nothing needs to be changed there. It's only the mind that says, I'm important. What's going on here is important. And my identity is important. That is the false self. That is the flesh that wants to be identified as I, and it's actually trying to hijack the experience of pure presence, the experience of pure awareness. Today I wanted to talk about the Course has a section in the very last chapter of the text. The 31 chapters of the text in A Course in Miracles. And it's the same in the purple book as it is in the blue book. For those of you guys that are more familiar with the blue book, it's the same title, Recognizing the Spirit. And I started reading that. I thought, I want to do a talk on that. That'd make a really good talk because it so connects with, I'm either connecting with the body or I'm connecting with the spirit, which one am I connecting with, and how can I make the spirit more of a default for myself? How can I make my experience so that my default is more of spirit presence than body identity? And in this section in the course that says recognizing the spirit, the first paragraph says, you see the flesh or recognize the spirit. So you see one that comes to you with your visual perception, or you recognize the other. And how do you recognize the other? How is it that you recognize spirit versus seeing the flesh? How do we unpack that statement? You see the flesh or recognize the spirit. There is no compromise between the two. If one is real, the other must be false. For what is real denies its opposite. So if I'm using a filter system that is filtering everything by the thinking mind, the thoughts that I have, or the visual perception that I have, or memory, what would you know without memory? You have to go to that place that was looking at this as just a glance and not labeling anything. You have to be looking at it with the it's not really perception, it's just pure awareness. It's when you're doing this, when this thought is being used to label something, when the mind is bringing you a story or an image, some kind of a belief, some kind of a past experience, or something that you're worried about, a fear thought, any of those perceptions take the place of just being aware presence. So you have two filters, really. You have the filter of nothing, of just pure presence, pure awareness, or you have the filter that puts you in the body, that puts you in the flesh. And this is a really, really important subject in the course. Pure presence can be and must be your new default. And you can have pure presence of awareness while the body with your name on it is speaking to someone else. And that's what we call being present. Just being present. We use that as a common spiritual term. Just being present means that you're not drifting over here wondering what you're going to say to her or him. You're not thinking about what you're going to have for lunch. You're not thinking about what you're going to say next. You're just being present in the now, right now in this moment. That is pure presence. And the seeking, this is really cool. I don't know where I came up with this. I wrote this down on my notepad, and it just came in. Seeking as the self versus being the self, recognizing the spirit. So if we're seeking as the self, if our default, if we're not really following the instruction manual, it's not something that we have to you don't have to keep reading this book. Please don't. Because if you don't have the direct experience, then you've objectified this. You've objectified the thinking mind that thinks it needs to know all of these things. We go after, I can't tell you how many books I've read, teachers that I've sought after, thinking, they're going to tell me something that I don't know. Or he knows it. And I still love to listen to and watch awesome teachers and read new stuff. but I'm not seeking after the truth anymore. I'm loving the truth. The reason we show up in these groups, the reason that I wanted to hear Diane speak, because I could tell I wanted to hear what she had to share with me. It was like nourishment for the being that I know the self to be. And in this, but we still have an owner's manual here because our old owner's manual is faulty. It's taught us to live by the flesh. It's taught us that we're bodies and this is a real experience and we need to be careful and we need to do what we're doing, be cautious, work hard, make a plan, follow the plan. This isn't about following the plan. This is about allowing yourself to undo what you thought you were so that you can be exactly what you are. It says here that if you choose flesh, you never will escape the body as your own reality. For you have chosen that you want it so, but choose the Spirit, and all heaven bends to touch your eyes. Bless your holy sight, that you may see the world of flesh no more, except to heal and comfort and to bless. There's a cameo 27 that I talk about. I talked about here, and I talked about it at the Course in Miracles conference, where Jesus gave Helen that image of a storm happening and her being still, learning to be still while the storm was occurring. That's what he's talking about here too. We can anchor ourselves. You have to practice this. I have to tell you, I'm always being still and just being aware. And sometimes the mind comes in and says, this is boring. It's true. It's true, because for the mind wants to keep me actively engaged with being a body and thoughts and worries and fears. So watch that. And when she wrote the 40-day program, and first day, watch your thoughts like a hawk. And many of us have heard it called the observer. Go behind the observer. Go behind that and just be the beer. Just being present as awareness. And when you are talking to someone, having this awesome conversation, and Spirit comes in, reminds you just to be present and aware. Everything you need to say to this being or the next comment doesn't need to be, I don't need to remember that. Remember that. Just let all of that be seen and don't touch it. Just let it pass by like a passing cloud. Because now you're connecting with the presence of that person, the very awareness of awareness itself. The awareness that this other being has is not different, separate, some kind of hers versus mine than my own. And you have animals. You look in the eyes of your animals, you're looking at pure awareness looking back at you. You're looking at your own self in that being. And it doesn't matter if you could see a mosquito's eyes, it would be the same. No kidding. And I can't tell you, I don't know about you guys, but since I found the truth of what I am as pure presence, when I hear somebody talking about killing things, like I heard this guy, I was working with a crew yesterday on Shipley's house. She has me doing a little project for her. And this guy was talking about, he's from Maine, and he was talking about, going out hunting and sitting behind the tree, this big, and looking at this doe and her baby. And I was thinking, oh my God, he shot the mom. I was thinking, and he goes, I didn't shoot that doe. No, I look for old ones. I look for old ones who don't have kids. But I'm thinking to myself, they're not separate from us. That's a being of light, of pure light. So, and not only that, but it doesn't have to have a body. It's inanimate objects too. This painting has awareness. In fact, it sees itself through these eyes. Nothing doesn't. This plant sees itself through these eyes. It's seeing itself in that beautiful, vibrant red color. And this is being. These are abilities that we have as beings. What Lisa was talking about, that you are the light. This is what the light is. Let's see what else I put. I'm not sure what else I put here. The seeker brings action to the desire to know. Desire to know brings awareness to the one who knows. So first we're a seeker with a desire, then we become a knower. Desire to know brings awareness to the one who knows. And when you make your new filter, instead of your body's identity, your personal self identity, when you make your new filter just awareness, and you take the pronouns out of the Course that talk about Him, that talk about God out there, the Holy Spirit, Jesus. If you take all those pronouns out and you put knower or awareness in, now you're embodying the presence and the very presence of God as Christ. You are the Christ. Just take all those pronouns out, and you guys know which one I'm talking about. I talked about this when I met with Rupert Spira, and I interviewed him, and I did that workbook lesson, the last one that uses Him, Jesus, God, you. I was interviewing him for a discussion about non-duality and A Course in Miracles, and right off the bat, the first 5 minutes, he goes, well, I counted 4 entities there. And he brings you back to that space of undifferentiated awareness, pure awareness. And so this is where, if I asked you right now, just be aware of being aware. Just be aware of being aware. And take a couple of words off of that, just being. Just being. And this is the practice. This could be your new default. There's a meditation practice. I almost did this a few years ago called Vipassana meditation, where you sit for 10 hours standing on your head. No, you don't stand on your head, but you go 10 hours a day in meditation, and you only have a couple of 30-minute breaks in there. There's no talking for 10 days, and it's this space of meditation. Most people try to have, most people are looking for an experience, which is problem number 1. They're looking outside of them. They're looking for this meditation to bring them into an experience, when what they are is the meditation. They're only if you go into a meditation, I used to meditate, and meditation helped me a lot to undo my Christian beliefs, because it caused me to start to contemplate things. Meditation was very helpful for me, just to be still and notice things. I remember when I first started meditating and I found the Course. I'd only picked up the Course for about maybe a couple of weeks, and I started reading Science of the Mind and Kabbalah and all this other kind of stuff, and I had been a born-again Christian for almost 25 years, and I decided I was going to start meditating. Oh, I found this book called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. They had this meditation practice in the back, and it invited you to think about a name that you had for yourself, like liar, cheater, piece of shit. My mom used to call me, you little bastard. And so that was always in my, you little bastard, go play in the traffic. And I'm going, huh? You know, but those things, they caught me, you know, because they were given to me at a young age. So I identified with all of those little things. It was so funny because I didn't realize how much I had made those my identity and what I thought of myself. So in the meditation practices, it gave like hundreds of words that you would identify with. I would highlight the ones that made like a connection. And after a couple of weeks of doing that meditation, that quiet time, I never did meditation before. Christians mostly don't do that. I mean, some mystical Christians do, and some, but mostly evangelical Christians don't. They say, meditation, that's woo stuff. So, but I started doing that. This is so funny. After 2 weeks, I'm going, oh my God, I know who Satan is. Negative thoughts. Negative beliefs. I told my former wife that, and she thought, what? And then I told my in-laws that. My father-in-law, my previous father-in-law, was the chairman of the board of Moody Bible Institute. And I told them that at a dinner. It shut down the dinner conversation. That was over. So anyway, I just wanted to bring to everyone's experience this workbook lesson, this text, recognizing the Spirit. It says here, and I'm going to go back to this right here. If you guys haven't read this, the last chapter 31 in the text, and you want to pick up on what the manual says about how we live in self-concepts, the self-concepts of what we think we are, we're addicted to it. We're addicted to being right. We're addicted to our opinions. We're addicted to making comparisons. And we measure everything by what happened last week, last year. As board president of the Teachers of God Foundation, for the last 5 years, I've been looking at, what did we do in 2015? Okay, so what was the donations and what was the revenue for 2017? What was it for? You know what we did this year? We said, we're not looking back anymore. Where are we right now? Where are we? We're not comparing. We took the comparison charts off of our financial sheets. Now that sounds crazy. An accountant would say, what? But we're not doing it that way anymore because we're comparing last year to the year before, and also we're futurizing, saying, well, because of that, we need to do this. We're planning. We're totally in the mind. We're living. I'll show you where we're living. We're living over here in the flesh. You like my stick man? Cute, right? So this is where we make a choice. All the time, if you're not living here, you're living here. You're living in one or the other. And that's why I keep harping on it, because I know it's true. You can find your presence in awareness. It's here. You don't even find it because it's what you are. It's the awareness of it. In the rest of this, it says of recognizing the Spirit. Salvation does not ask that you behold the Spirit and perceive the body not. That's good news. In other words, it doesn't mean you do this and you don't see the activity of experience. It merely asks that this should be your choice. So put on a different filter. Practice the new filter system. You know, when you're at the stoplight and nothing's going on, just notice the thoughts, be aware of them. Don't touch them, don't try to fix them, and notice if your mind says you're not being aware, notice that thought. Just notice everything, like a hawk, like the 40-day hawk. Notice what you're noticing. Be aware of being aware, because that is your experience of heaven on earth. That's your experience of heaven on earth, right there. It says, "For you can see the body without help, but do not understand how to behold a world apart from it. It is your world salvation will undo." So salvation, it is your world awareness will undo. And you'll get that in about 5 more sentences. You'll get what the meaning of that. It is your world awareness, presence, quiet presence will undo. And let you see another world your eyes could never find. Be not concerned how this could ever be. You do not understand how what you see arose to meet your sight, for if you did, it would be gone. The veil of ignorance is drawn across the veil, and the veil of ignorance is drawn across the evil and the good, and must be passed that both may disappear. That's labeling. That's right or wrong. That's judgment. You have to be in the total stillness, like a camera that takes a photograph and it doesn't know what's in the photograph. It just takes the picture. So that perception finds no hiding place. How is this done? This is the key part right here. It is not done at all. I know. It's not done at all. What could there be within the universe that God created that must still be done? What could there be in the universe of awareness, of presence, of pure presence that must still be done? And what could be before you still to do? Only in arrogance could you conceive that you must make the way to heaven plain. The means are given you by which to see the world that will replace the one you made. Your will be done. In heaven as on earth, this is forever true. So the thing that I have discovered for myself is that everything, all the teachings, the Course teachings, the Joe Goldsmith teachings, the non-dual teachings of Rupert, Adyashanti, Eckhart Tolle, Byron Katie, everyone, everything boils down to there's nothing to seek for, you're it. You are what you've always been looking for, and you don't need to look anymore. You can be that. The The perception, when we're in the flesh, when we notice, when Spirit reminds us, it'll give us reminders. Why? Because the light has come in, and you are awakened ones. The light has come in, and it will do the work. That's why it says, how is it done? It's not done at all. Your only part is to be that. And the mind will come in and say, well, that, like I said a minute ago, that might seem boring. It's such a beautiful, boring experience. It is. I can't tell you how often I am so bored. And I love it. I'm beginning to, the mind isn't playing that game on me anymore. I'm just totally, and when things need to happen, guess what? That phone will ring, and I'll bring the conversation into awareness. And if I don't know what to do or say, or if I'm going, okay, well, I'll talk to you later. How about if I call you later? So you just allow awareness to tell you what to say and what to do. Awareness, if you go to the last workbook lesson, the one I read to Rupert Spira, this is so good. This is the one I read to him, and I was wanting him to sort of unpack it a little bit. He really surprised me with his answer of the 4 entities. So let's just, it says, this holy instant. What is the holy instant? It's being aware. It's just aware presence. What is the holy encounter? It's aware presence. It's just, it's an experience that's holding the holy awareness, the holiness. My mind, or no, what is the workbook lesson, babe? My holiness envelops everything I see. My holiness, when you make awareness your new default, awareness is a filter. You're engaging it. You shift. You move right here because you know you're not a body. You shift your awareness into place. My holiness envelops everything I see. Now, if you look around this room right here, is there anything that's not included in that? If these walls were gone, this roof was gone, and you look around and saw the trees, is there anything that's separate from that? My holiness is your very awareness. My holiness envelops everything I see, doesn't leave anything out. That includes those railroad ties, the trees, the cars. My holiness envelops everything I see. Now I've included everything. There's no separation there. See if I can find that workbook lesson, 360. This holy instant would I give to you, be you in charge. Be awareness in charge. Let awareness, let presence be in charge. It doesn't have a thinking mind. It just is. And from there, the thinking mind over here gets informed from here. But if you're over here, you can't hear stillness. You can't be in presence. You will be wrong. You'll be working too hard to get nowhere, and you won't find peace over there.
That's a good sentence. You'll be working too hard to get nowhere.
Yes, yeah. We should quote that.
Write that
Be you in charge. It says, be you in charge. Who is the you? It's aware presence. Be you in charge. For I would follow you, aware presence, certain that your direction brings me peace. So I'm just inviting everyone to consider this as a new default, aware presence as a new default. It'll serve you so well, and you will discover a new way of being. And if I need a word to help me, this is what I was talking about. If I'm talking to Diane and I'm just being present, if I need a word to help me, awareness will bring it forward. And if there's something that I was going to say that I shouldn't say, it won't be said. Right? Because that's where I used to always get in trouble. And now I see those thoughts. I don't have to say that. Right? I see a comment I want to say to my wife. If it's not loving, if it's not like going to make her feel awesome, loved, then
Thanks, babe.
yeah, it's changed our marriage too. Yeah, because you don't have to say those thoughts. Well, I'm saying it, I'm thinking it. Well, good for you. Let it pass by. It's the mind trying to hijack your experience from spirit to flesh, from love to not love. And it says, and if I need but stillness and a tranquil open mind, these are the gifts I will receive of him. Pure awareness. Just abide in that and just saturate yourself in that. When we go to sleep at night and we have these deep sleeps, the reason the body needs to rest is because the body can't function if the being isn't resting in its natural state. Bodies, you go a couple of days without sleeping and the body can't function in that experience. It's not, the soul hasn't been invited to recharge, to really bring nourishment back into the physical experience. He is in charge by my request. He is in charge by my request. So I just really need to acknowledge awareness. It leads. It's the light. Awareness is the light. Nowhere to go. You don't have, that's the owner's manual. You are awake, and the owner's manual has brought you to this point. What I'm saying when I say to recognize the spirit, if this speaks to you and you want to go back and read those chapters for yourself in the chapter 31 of the text, just go back and look at it, look at the concepts of the self versus recognizing the self. And he will hear and answer me because he speaks for God, my Father, and his Holy Son. All of those are in the same embodiment as awareness. God, the Holy Spirit, the Father, the Self, forgiveness, meditation. Awareness is everything. Do I have anything after this? Because I think I'm out of time. I'm out of time. Oh, being. Right there. Do this. Be this. Let's everyone rise and we'll have a closing prayer. Thank you. Thank you, live streamers, for joining us. Let's have a circle here. Thank you all for coming, all of you new people and old friends. Bring the circle in closer, please. Arthur Gay was going to speak today, and his knee wasn't really ready for the hour and a quarter drive from Cape, so I took the spot, and he'll be sharing with us sometime January or February. Arthur, we love you and we miss you. Woo-hoo! And I am looking forward to hearing you speak, my brother. I totally love to watch and listen to you. And so we'll bless the tithes in offering divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And this quiet space that happens in between the words as we pause, it gives room for presence, to saturate, to be recognized, to be known. And it's nourishment for the soul, for the true self, for the Christ I am, for God presence. We invite this holiness to come into all of the minds and hearts right now. We invite this holiness to be encompassing all things. We encompass this entire earth right now with our imagination that our holiness envelops the entire earth, and then it just radiates out into the universe. In the universes of universes, there's no limit to what this holiness is, and this is I. This is I, you, I. And so it is. Amen.
Amen.
All right.
That was awesome, though.
Thank you, everyone. Love you. Merry Christmas.
That was great.
Oh, I'm sorry. Merry Christmas, everyone. We're going to be gone for Christmas. Kelly Russell is next week. Becky Johnson is on the 28th, and we'll be back on the 29th. So everyone have a Merry Christmas, live streamers. Thank you for joining. I love you. Bye-bye.
No, she got it.